Hello folks, thank you for joining me on this Tuesday. I'm recording this on Sunday because next week's going to be very busy on the run up to Christmas. And also I have a really bad stomach bug right now. So I am currently just here drinking lots of fluids and just in misery. But I can't leave you without any videos, so I thought I'd come on and do a video, a follow-up video to my other video on Trench Crusade that was the other day. Again, this is not going to be scripted. This is going to be me just talking, ad-libbing about my experiences with reading Trench Crusade. I've had a lot of time this weekend to reread a lot of the stuff. I've actually got it right here. I've been rereading this because there were points that people brought up in the original video of, you know, well, obviously you haven't read this or you haven't seen this, and I have, I'm afraid. So I'd like to thank everybody who got in touch in the last video in the comment section who was respectful and who said, yeah, I get that, but like, here's my opinion. That's great. That's awesome. Unfortunately, we did have a lot of rabbids, I call them. There's these foaming at the mouth people who can't actually compute that I don't like something that they like, and they get personally offended by that and start to rend their garments in the comment section. If that's you, I haven't changed my mind, so you may as well leave now, because, you know, on a reread, I have not changed my mind, but at least I can go in and talk about the points that I made last time in a bit more detail, because I've got the document here, and I've made some notes. How many pages have we got of notes right now? Let me have a look. Oh, 6. So 6 pages of notes on Trench Crusade. Because, in all honesty, there was one sentiment that I really did agree with last time, and that was somebody said, your Trench Crusade deserves a longer video than this. And I agree. I think I said everything that I needed to say last time, but I could have gone more in depth. I think where the video kind of fell down was I was giving no examples, right? I was saying that the world was devoid of light, and there were no, not good guys, but there was no difference between, you know, the good guys and the bad guys in Trench Crusade, the Heretic Legion and the Iron Sultanate and Antioch and everybody else, right? But I didn't actually go into detail and explain what I meant by that. I just did it as a throwaway line and carried on. I do agree with that. I should have gone into more detail, which is why I'm going to do this today. First things first, I have to say, certain parts of Trench Crusade, in terms of its presentation, is absolutely phenomenal. And you can tell that these are guys who you know, used to work for Games Workshop. I know one of them wrote Mordheim, right? Again, absolutely brilliant. And I think they've gone all out in doing a really good job at showing you what the world is, right? And I think that that's something that people didn't get last time. In that, you know, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not well written or well done. It's literally an opinion. If you don't agree with my opinion, then I completely respect your right to love this game to hell and back, you know? To actually go out there and say, no, this is my thing, I love it, and that's it, right? That's great, dude. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. It's not really my thing, though. One thing I will say is we had a lot of people in the comment section last time talking about religion and talking about this being heretical or this and that, and it being woke, quote unquote, because you know, it goes after traditional Christian values. I've not seen that in the lore, right? I get what you mean in that somebody said like if you wrote a game like this about Islam, it would be like really you'd be in a lot of hot water. Actually, the Iron Sultanate is in this game, right? And they are written that way too, right? These are Muslims, so it's not as if they're not in the game, right? They don't just whitewash it and say no, they're not there. They're the good guys. No, they don't, right? So I don't really get that. Again, you are absolutely entitled to your own opinion, your religious beliefs or your own religious beliefs, and I respect your right to have them. And I respect your right to be offended. I've always said this. You can be offended as much as you like from everything else, right? What you can't do is ruin everybody else's good time because you're offended. And a lot of you in the comment section last time who were offended by Trench Crusade actually got that. And that I respect that a lot. Like, a lot of you actually said, look, it isn't for me because it insults my religion, my belief, so I'm going to let other people look at this, and I'm not going to bother with it, right? Fine. No problem with that at all. Again, I don't agree with you. You know, I think a lot of the law is presented in a way that they try and go neutral and make everybody just as bad as everybody else. But in that, there is actually problems there as well. Do you know what I'm saying? That links back to my central thesis problem of why Trench Crusade isn't for me. Okay, let me dive into my notes. So, the last video kind of proved my point about, like, the rabid side of fan bases, and how certain people will defend Trench Crusade even from fair criticism by appearing in a comment section, rending their garments. As I said, some dude on YouTube didn't like their thing, but my opinions remain the same, and they have 3 main points on why Trench Crusade isn't really for me. The first, I think a lot of the zealous love Trench Crusade has comes from a rampant hatred of Games Workshop, rather than judging this new game and IP on its own merits and flaws, right? Number 2, I think a lot of people like Trench Crusade because it is so grim that it becomes silly. The same people who think the Dark Eldar are the good guys in 40k will love Trench Crusade. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the very important part of that point. There's nothing wrong with that. All of this isn't me saying you shouldn't write settings this way. How dare you? No, I'm saying it's not for me. That's what I'm saying, right? This over-the-top, grim, you know, absolutely a bloody vestibule everywhere sort of setting is not really for me, right? I need hope. I need... and one thing I will disagree with people on, please don't come on my comment section and start lying. I just don't like it. Like, just don't do that. I've read this, you know, I spent my time rereading this weekend. If you're empirically wrong, and one read of this document will prove you wrong, don't say it in the comments, right? There are no good guys in Trench Crusade. There is very little hope, if not no hope, in Trench Crusade, right? The New Antioch is a meat grinder. The Iron Sultanate, very, very, very similar. And they are basically slightly, and I mean, if the Heretic Legions are a 10 in terms of bad guys, everybody else is a 9.5. Right? I'm not saying they're the same, they're not, but everybody else is a 9.5. And it's good, and I honestly think we are in the embryonic stages of Trench Crusade. So this is the first bit of lore that they're going to be talking about throughout the process. But I'm going to be honest, I can only see it getting worse, right? But I will talk about how to fix it, though. I will do that later on. And number 3, the third point is, I do hope it succeeds, so those people have a cool game to play. If you're the kind of person that this speaks to, if you're the kind of person who is really, really, really into Trench Crusade, then I really hope it succeeds, and you get to play it, and you get to have fun with it. You know, obviously you get to play it because the rules are out. And that's something else. One other point that people made last time, like, I think you'll find the rules are out. No, they're not. They're literally not, right? The playtesting rules are out. Okay? The playtesting rules are out. But the game itself, the finished article, the finished product is not out. That's just simply what it is, man. The finished article is not out right now. The playtesting rules is. They even call them the playtesting rules, so you don't sue them for not getting the product that you want when the actual game comes out, right? That's why that's there. So, yes, you can technically play a version of Trench Crusade now, but it is not the final version. It is a version of Trench Crusade, all right? And it's subject to change, as they keep telling us, you know? I've heard one of the developers saying it won't change that much from the test version to the main version, but I've also seen developers saying, no, it's going to change quite a bit. So I don't know which one to believe right now. But, again, that point saying, listen, if you think that it's a finished game, more fool you. It isn't, unfortunately, all right? Again, one thing I will also say is I think the lore is very well written in terms of its prose. Not what's in there, because what's in there isn't really for me. You know, when you look at things like this, and this is your good guy, this is generally where I draw the line and go, okay, you're starting to absolutely push the boundaries of what I can believe and get into, right? I need a bit of... I've been rereading Eisenhorn recently in 40k. And in the end of Xenos, the first book, Eisenhorn's talking about why the Inquisition exists. And he says, you know, for all of the bad things you see, or that I see as an Inquisitor, for every hellhole world that has constant warfare in there, there are another 1,000 worlds where people are living in peace and are hardly touched by the wars that are going on in the rest of the galaxy, yeah? It just so happens that the galaxy is so big and the Imperium's so big that it can only be maintained by it being on a constant war footing and fighting wars on its extremities, or even inside sometimes, right? And the enemies they are fighting are deplorable beings. That, for me, that's what Grimdark's supposed to be. It's supposed to be nearly hopeless, but it's not, right? There is hope there, and you are fighting for something. I would not want to live in Trench Crusade, right? And last time, in fact, I'll get into that in a minute. In a minute. Let me just come on to here and let me carry on. Okay. So there was a bit of criticism on my last video that I agreed with, as I said before. For the sake of brevity, I didn't go into examples of why the Trench Crusade lore is devoid of hope compared to Warhammer 40,000 and other games that it seeks to pull audiences away from. So I will correct that here. I also didn't really touch on what I'd expand on to fix the issue, so I'll do that here as well. Alright? Alright. So, the first part of my findings after reading the lore, or rereading the lore, is that nations not bogged down in the overly grim stuff are hardly touched upon. So your Britons, your Germanys, your France, your Italy, all of these places that aren't in the Holy Land, aren't in Levant, aren't New Antioch or the Iron Sultanate, they're not really touched upon, hardly. There are like 2 or 3 throwaway lines for each nation going, this is what's kind of going on over there, this is what's kind of going on over there, right? It doesn't really compute for me, because this is where you have your opportunity to pull back the scope of the world and show us this is what these guys are fighting for. Britain's actually really nice and resembles like a King Arthur in modern day sort of a thing. That'd be really cool, right? Here's what Scandinavia looks like, right? That would be awesome, and that would mean that people are being funneled to the Holy Land to actually hold back hell, because what's behind them is absolutely worth protecting. In Trench Crusade right now, that is not the case, right? The throwaway lines that we have about Albion, about other places, are actually kind of dark, and aren't that injected with hope. They're actually really kind of depressing. So that's what I mean when I say Trench Crusade doesn't have enough light for me. It doesn't. You can't cast shadow without light. If you just got shadow, you're sitting in a dark room bored, or at least I am, right? This might be something that comes later and comes with age. Again, we have to be very, very, very careful about judging whether Trench Crusade will be a quality game, because we're at the very, very, very start of its life cycle, right? I know it's pretty much not going to be for me, and that's fine, because I don't think the models aren't really my thing, the art's not really my thing, and the lore is also well written, but not something that I would personally get into, right? Just is what it is. Again, there are books out there, there are book series out there that are very well written in terms of prose, but aren't really my thing, you know? There are certain Brandon Sanderson books that I really like and get into very easily. Mistborn, for example. There are certain books that I find much harder to get into, like The Way of Kings. Same guy, same writing style, but just 2 different ways that he's approached the books. That I just, you know, and this is how I am. So, in terms of how Trench Crusade is going to go forwards, again, we've got to give it some leeway, because this is the very early stages, and this might change. We might get a vast expansion on what these guys are fighting for. And if I have one bit of advice to give to Trench Crusade, not that anybody will listen, because, you know, I'm a moron, but there we are. The one bit of advice I will give is that do that first. In terms of your lore, do that first. Show us what you're fighting for. If you show us what you're fighting for, dude, this goes from being like, not my thing at all, to basically being, oh, this is kind of interesting, right? Still probably won't play it, because I don't really like the models very much, but there we are, right? There is one part of this book I think it's on page 12. Where is it? Page 12, where I was reading the other day. And I made a specific note of more of this with like several exclamation marks. Exclamation marks. So I think it's around... Yeah. More than anything else, it is the volunteers who come to serve under the banner of Christ that ensure the continuous existence of the principality. Thus, in the streets of this city, one can hear hundreds of languages and dialects. One might observe hussars of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth brushing soldiers with the last remnants of the Varangian Guard, or hear sermons of a street preacher from Aya extolling the soldiery of Ethiopia to lay down their lives for the cause. That, right there, is world building. That is what we need more of. But that is all we have of the wider world for the vast majority of this primer, right? But that's cool. You got somebody from Ireland, you got somebody from Ethiopia, you got the Varangian Guard, so you've got Scandinavians there, Polish Lithuania, right? You are building out your setting there. We need more of this in Trench Crusade for me. This needs to be throughout the book, and these kind of things, your Aya, which is Ireland, right? These kind of things should have a page on their own. Where do you want your regiment to be from? Where do you want your characters to be from? Where do you want your... Do you know what I mean? This is the kind of thing you should be doing in Trench Crusade for me. Because if we're not fighting for anything in particular, why are we bothering? And what can you learn about these cultures from here? It's all from a martial standpoint, okay? You got winged hussars from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Okay, fine, they're soldiers. But what's it like? What's that part of the world like? Why are they desperate to defend it from the Heretic Legion? Because all you've given to me so far is the fact that they're not really that different at all. So what are we doing this for? Do you know what I mean? Again, they have the absolute talent to do this. They put this here on purpose. But okay, here's a controversial thing. I've started to really get into Elden Ring, right? But at the same time, Elden Ring is incredibly frustrating to me. I'm going to take a drink here, one sec. Elden Ring is incredibly frustrating. Because I know there's a story there that I will really like. You know? There definitely is. There's a story under there that I will absolutely get a load out of. But I resent the fact that I have to go on YouTube to decipher it. Do you know what I'm saying? This Dark Soulsification, the biggest sin Dark Souls has introduced to storytelling in general, not just gaming, is this: we don't even tell you a story, we just plonk you in the world and tell the story through different things you pick up, and you fill in the blanks for yourself. No, mate, that's lazy as balls. Don't do that, okay? And I am fearing for the future of Trench Crusade, because when I watch a paragraph like this, read a paragraph like this, it makes me think they're going to go down those same lines. They give you some flavor text, they give you a seed and say, you do the rest. If it's not New Antioch, the Iron Sultanate, we're not bothered. You do the rest. I think this is where they're going to go. I'll be honest with you. I think that's where they're going to go. And this is why I say Trench Crusade isn't for me. Again, expanding on my point. They're not in it for the same reasons I am. I'm here to read and tell stories on the tabletop. Okay? This might be a really good skirmish game. In fact, it probably will be a really good skirmish game, let's be honest, right? I mean, it's made by the same guys who did Mordheim. Like, it's going to be good, right? It's going to be playable. But in terms of the actual world and setting in and of itself, this is what makes me think it's not for me. Because every seed I see in this primer points towards us focusing on the grim, dark derpiness that's over there in the Middle East, right? In the Levant, and basically ignoring everything else. Do you know what I'm saying? Hopefully that's bringing you... That was the main criticism of my last video, and the one that I agreed with. I didn't go into too much detail on why certain nations didn't qualify for me. Because New Antioch and the Iron Sultanate are basically hell diet. Do you know what I mean? They're diet hell. But they're still nearly just as bad as the Heretic Legion. At least Heretic Legion are honest about like what they're doing to you as well, rather than, you know. Anyway, I think one of the main issues Western audiences have with Trench Crusade is that the Heretic Legion, whilst not strictly presented as good guys, because they're not, they are presented as being just as cool and playable as the Christian factions in the game, right? Again, I'm going to defend Trench Crusade here and say, listen, you've got every right to be offended, but other people do exist in the setting, and they get it in the face as well, alright? This is always a problem that comes up with a war game, though, right? This is an RPG, this is a war game. The Imperium and Chaos in 40k can both be equally cool, and Chaos at times is even sympathetic when it comes to the downfall of those who fall into it, because they are not real nations and peoples. In fact, you're playing a war game, so you want all of your factions and models to be cool on some level. Even the Tyranids and other people who are absolutely evil, or maybe not evil, just a natural force of nature, you want them to be cool. You want people to buy those models. When you start doing this with real life religions, though, do you see what I mean? Do you see why I'm like, okay, yeah, this is kind of, you know, the minute you produce a setting like this, people have a right to call it out as being disrespectful. Now, please do not think I'm saying you can't make a game like this. You absolutely can, but you also need to take criticisms of it on the chin. Trench Crusade players, I've been very disappointed by your reactions to the last video. A lot of you seem to just not be able to take criticism on the chin. A lot of you seem to think that me not liking something you like has ruined your day. I suggest, right? What do I want to say? I suggest you take a step back, right? And you realise my criticisms are honest, they're from the heart, and they're actually from the point of view of somebody who wants this game to succeed. It's just not for me, and not everything in the world needs to be for me as well. But if it offends you somehow, that I don't like the thing that you like, you need to go outside and touch grass. Or get laid, one of the two. Anyway, in an overly grim setting like this, there are no good guys, legitimately. Everybody is brutal, and New Antioch, along with the Iron Sultanate, are almost as bad as the Heretic Legions. What I am saying is, when you cast real religions and cultures in this light, you are going to get into hot water. I commend the bravery of Trench Crusade for just going for it, but I also think, as I said, that you need to get real and understand that criticism of this kind of style of writing is normal and actually quite valid and actually to your advantage. Do what Rockstar Games did with GTA. Any publicity is good publicity in this regard. Controversy creates cash. More people will be curious about your game, and more people who would like your game hear about it from people who don't like it, like me, right? The more people complain, the more people know about your game. Alright? So that is my expanded thoughts on Trench Crusade. That's where we are right now. That will be my last video on Trench Crusade for the foreseeable. I really wish it all the best, and if you like Trench Crusade, I wish you all the best too. And I hope it's a success, and that it makes money and it sells well, right? And have fun. Yeah, you guys go out there and have fun. I'll be over here with 40k and other games that I like, and you guys go over there and have your royal good time. All right. I love you all a long time. I will speak to you for some more Hobby Nightmares tomorrow. See you soon. Bye now.